Hello students, this is your instructor Kent Anderson, and what I want to do for you right now is give you an overview of the discussion board assignments. I'm going to be using for my focus the discussion board assignment for week 1. It's your first discussion board assignment, so I figured this would be the best time to take a moment and sort of give you an overview of the assignment and what's required. Now, what you're looking at right now in front of you is the classroom, and this is the first discussion board assignment, as I said, due by Wednesday, July 13th. So what I want to do here is go down to the participation instructions and then look briefly at the grading rubric. You will notice that the grading rubric is fairly comprehensive. It does cover several categories, and this rubric is what will be used to evaluate your work. So there are a few things on here I do want to point out in particular. The first is this guy right here: formulate independent conclusions based on research, analysis, and visual observations that support the topic. Now, the key word here is research, and the key words, I should say, are research and analysis. You do need to use research to do these assignments. I have provided some additional information that will make that easier. And in terms of analysis, you do also need to make connections between your research and other aspects of your response to the question, which again I will get to in a couple minutes here. Okay, now the next category that I want to talk about is the one right after, which is supports ideas and demonstrates an understanding with textual, visual, and oral references and examples. Where relevant, uses proper MLA citation format and style. Now, when you do use research, when you do use sources in a response to a discussion question, you do need to cite the references from that research, from those sources that you use in your response to the question. Now, I've provided additional information in the classroom, in the doc sharing area, as well as at problems and solutions for week 2, that does give you further insight into how to properly cite things, including specific examples. I've also provided at Problems and Solutions for Week 2 a link to a website that will answer any possible question you could ever have about using MLA citation format and style. Okay, so it is important that you do take advantage of everything that's provided for you in the classroom, especially in terms of using MLA format and style. Okay, and correct in standard college-level English grammar, mechanics, spelling, punctuation, and sentence structure, and appropriate logic and voice. Okay, what this one really boils down to is make sure that you're checking your work for spelling errors, for proper use of sentence structure, for, commas and semicolons and periods, and just make sure you're doing all of that correctly. I do advise that you write out your response to the question in a word processor of whatever kind you use, because that way you can sort of evaluate the spelling and the grammar and all that beforehand. And then once you've done that, and once you're ready to post it, then click on the respond button, and I'll show you where that is in a moment, and then copy and paste your response into the window that you get when you click on respond. Okay, now the last category I want to talk about here is participation. What this means is that you need to provide encouraging and constructive feedback to at least 2 students each week. This feedback should be longer than just 1 or 2 short sentences, and should ideally be posted on 2 separate days. Now, there are 3 questions. You only need to respond to 1, but you can provide participation across all of the discussion boards if you wish. It doesn't have to be on the same discussion board that you provided a response to. Okay, so now let's get down here and all right, so this is what you see for the questions, okay? So right now, the question that's selected is discussion question 1, which is right here. And throughout the discussion questions in the course, I will, highlight some things here and there, aspects of the question that I think are the most significant, or things that I want to make sure you notice and pay attention to, which is why some of this is in red and some of it is in bold black. Okay, so this is the first discussion question here. Now, if you were going to respond to this one, you would click on this button right here. And I'll do that for you in a moment. But I want to show you here too, for every discussion question, I post an initial sort of starter thread at the top, which is what you see here. Now, if you click on this, you will see that I've made further comments about the assignment, about this specific question, in fact, and then I've also provided potential sources you can use to further your research in a response to the question. Now these are not really hyperlinked, so you will have to copy and paste them into your browser, or I believe right click and press Control for some of them. And I have some notes about that right here. So, but it's very important that you pay attention to these initial threads that I put on here, because I always provide you with sources you can use. I always provide you with a few extra details about the assignment that will help you. So I definitely encourage you to pay attention to those. Now, if you wanted to respond to this question, and again, there's a little bit of instruction right here about that, okay? But what you basically do is you just click on this, okay, and then down here you see this is the window that opens up when you do that. So what you would do here is in the subject line, what I would like you to do is to put, so if I was responding to this one, I would put my name and then something like that. Something to let me know who's doing the response in the subject line, and just a brief little title. I just put one word, but just some kind of a brief title that sort of sums up your response to the question, basically. Okay? And then after you've done this, you would then click Post Response. I'm not going to do that here because I don't really have a response in here. But you would just click Post Response, and you're done. And you got to make sure you click Post Response. Don't click Preview, and don't click Cancel, obviously, because if you click Cancel, you're going to lose everything. But as I said previously, it's best to write your response to a question in a word processor, and then once you've done that, copy and paste it right into here. Okay, so that way you can evaluate your spelling, your grammar beforehand, and then when you're ready to go, you copy and paste it right into here, and then click Response, and you're done. Okay? So that is a brief overview for you of the discussion questions and how to respond to them. Please make sure that you do post your assignments by the due date. The due dates for all assignments are provided, just like this one here. And I guess I should show you too before I leave. Navigating the questions is pretty easy. You just click on each one. Okay, and each question has its own discussion board. Okay, and as I said, each question will also have an initial post from me at the top that will give you some further information, as well as some potential sources you can use. Okay, that's going to be true for all of these. So here's the third one. And again, a little bit of additional information and a few sources for you to consider. So that's that for the brief overview of the discussion questions. One more thing to point out here at the top, make sure your response is at least approximately 350 words. Okay, so make sure you read the instructions, make sure you look at the grading rubric, and pay attention to my initial posts at the top of every discussion board, the sources I provide. All of this information is here to help you do well on the assignments. So all of that information plus this video here that you're watching now. So I hope this has been helpful, and I will see you in the classroom.